Yeah, I'm Eloise. Often go by Wheeze. Second year, and it's kind of an Emmett Taylor through women's football.
Hey,
That's kind of
yeah.
it.
Where are you from?
I'm from New York City.
Fun.
Yeah.
So I start my interviews with this, but what's your earliest memory?
That's kind of, well, I have a lot of really early memories of like specific things about preschool, which is really weird because I worked there like for a few summers ago and went back and just like everything seemed so much bigger, you know, when you're like 4 years old and you like go back. Oh my God. It was so weird. So that one I have, and then I have I have I have like a 9/11 memory, which is just like not something I actually remember.
Yeah.
I can't tell if it's like
How
a
old?
learned.
You would have been
Well, so I would have been the
six?
same. I would have been four.
Four. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. 2001. Yeah, I would have been four. And so it would make sense that I have memories from that time, but also like I don't remember every day from when I was four. But it's just one of those things that I think I've just now told so many times that I can't really tell if it's true or not.
What is it?
It's like not. It's like not super interesting. I just like my parents, like a lot of New Yorkers, like kind of freaked out and we went upstate for a while because we had just bought, like my parents had just bought a house in upstate New York that we still go to. So we just like went up there for a week and kind of waited until things went back to normal.
Yeah.
But I don't really like. I think it's just one of those things. Like I've seen a lot of pictures of that week and like sort of like heard the stories. And now I like can't really tell.
Yeah.
I don't know. Memory's weird.
That's so interesting. Do you find that working at that preschool though, brought back more memories because you like could visually kind of reconnect
I think also
things?
I'm a really visual learner, so like if I see things like I don't know, and a lot of the same people are still there, which is really, I don't know, it's so weird. It's probably weirder for them, like I'm like, you know, like 6 feet tall and like 20 years old. Last time they saw me, I was like, I don't know. And also, so I have a little sister who's like 6 years, she's a lot younger than I am, and now she's like I don't know, I still like, if someone's like, oh yeah, I'm a sophomore in high school, like in my mind I'll be like, oh, we're the same age, but now that like my little sister's a sophomore in high school, you're like, holy shit, like this.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Speaking of siblings, is that your only sibling?
No, so I have an older sister who is 3 years, so she's 23, and a younger sister who's 6 years younger, so it's kind of a huge...
Yeah. What kind of younger sister are you, and what kind of older sister are you?
Oh my God. Well, I think, like, both of my sisters are, like, very strong kind of, like, characters. So, you know, like, when you're, like, really little, like, people will sort of have a tendency to, I don't know, like, label you, be like, oh, like, this is my like, she really loves piano. Like, she So, like, that was really easy with my sisters because my older sister is, like, definitely, like, the brains. Like, she's so smart and so loud and, like, has been talking at law school since she was, like, 7 years old.
Yeah.
Guys might get along. And then my younger sister is, like, very much the youngest sister and is, like, the performer and, like, super loud and, like, like, really into theater and stuff. And I think people are always like, and there's just, like, Eloise. She's just kind of odd.
Yeah.
She's just, like, the weird one. Like, the weird sense of humor. So, yeah. But, I don't know, like, we're all really close. I don't know, I was an older sister for Adelaide, my younger sister. I was, like, super protective of her when I was younger. Just
really?
Yeah, I don't really, like, I don't know, like, I like, still have these very vivid, like, memories of being really anxious, like, leaving her alone. It's so crazy.
From what age?
From how old I was.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I remember so I started playing soccer competitively when I was, like, on a club team or whatever, when I was, like, 9, and so we used to have training, like, a few times a week, and I remember not wanting to go to training because I was like, oh God, I can't leave Adelaide. Yeah, it's, like, crazy.
What do you think, like, sparked that?
I don't know, it comes out of nowhere. Like, no one was, you know, like, she's very well taken care of. She's got lots of friends. Like, she never asked for that. I was just, like, yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's so weird.
Do you find that you have that protective instinct either today with her or with other people now?
Still with her, I think, a little bit, but it's hard because she's, like, 14 years old and, like, definitely does not need / want that.
Either, yeah.
And also I live in Scotland, like, 10 months out of the year, so, like, yeah. I don't know, I think that's definitely there. My older sister and my younger sister are very close now because they're both in the city, because my sister moved back to the city after she went to Columbia for her last 2 years, so she's been in the city since then. And Adelaide's in the city. Yeah, really? Your sister to Columbia? Yeah. But she was in France for the first 2 years at, like, a dual BA program thing. So she did Columbia her last 2 years.
Oh, that's
But so since she's been home at Columbia, like, I think the two of them have gotten really, really close.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good. It's weird, like, because Adelaide and I were always really, really close when we were younger. But it is good. It's, like, nice for them.
Yeah.
I think it would suck to be, like, 14 years old and have 2 grown-up sisters if neither of them were, like, home at all.
What was it like when your older sister left?
Honestly, it sucked. Like, it wasn't fun at all. And also, like, it went from, like, so she was always at home, but also all of her friends were always at home, like, because our house was just the house. So it was just, like, it was a really loud, like, fun house. Because Claudia always, like, initiated, like, fun activities. Like, she'd be like, oh, let's go do something. And then she left, and that honestly really sucked.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun at all.
I agree.
Yeah. And also, it was just, like, a weird time. Like, that was, like, sort of the beginning. Like, my parents started to get, like, separate and get divorced that time. So I just, like, don't really look fondly upon, like, sophomore, junior year of high school.
15-ish.
Yeah, so I must have been, yeah, so weird. And then she was back for my senior year because she did her junior year at Columbia was my senior year of high school. So that was really good to have her back.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was really good.
Talking about parents, what kind of qualities of your parents do you see in yourself? And how do you, like, feel about being able to see, like, oh my gosh, I'm so much like my mom.
Yeah, oh god, it's, like, happening more and more, I think. What's also weird about my sisters is that they look so much alike and they look so much like my mom, and I think they act a lot like my mom. And I think everyone on my dad's side will always be like, oh, Eloise is, like, for sure the most Lobenthal of the three of us. Just because I look kind of more Jewish than they do. I, look like exactly like my dad. And yeah, I don't know. My parents are both, like, very smart and very hardworking, and so I'd like to think some of that is rubbed off. My dad is, like, I don't know, he's very specific. I have such a difficult time explaining my dad. He like is really creative and, like, takes on a lot of these projects, but I think has some trouble executing them, and I think that's, like, I don't know. I think I have the same thing. Like, I have these great ideas and be like, well, I have no idea how to get that done. I don't know. That's, like, that's a hard question.
Are you personality-wise like your mom?
I don't think so.
Or more like your dad? Oh, really?
I think, well, like, I would say more like my dad, but that's kind of a difficult question because, like, of the three of my sisters, or the three of us, like, they don't really get along with my dad at all. And so to say, like, oh, I'm more like my dad, that's probably true because we get along really well, but yeah, I think the things that I, like, see in him and get frustrated with, like, I definitely, like, have the same sort of qualities.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, my sisters will be very happy to, like, sit down and, like, talk about themselves and, like, their goals and hopes and dreams and, like, feelings and stuff, and I'll be like,
lol.
Oh, the hell no, that's
not like what you're doing right now.
Yeah, well, that's true. But this is, that's so, okay. Good, fair point.
You shouldn't have brought it up. Now you're going to be like, oh no.
I'm out.
Yeah.
No.
Bye. Talking a bit more about growing up in New York City, how do you think where you grew up shaped your identity?
I don't know. I hope it shaped me I don't know. I love New York City. I, like, miss it a lot. I have no problem saying it's, like, the best city in the world. I think that New York City, like, inherently makes you not more accepting, but sort of more aware. Like, you just meet a lot of these people from St. Andrews who, like, probably, you know, like, are very open, intelligent people who, like, would love to know more about different people. But I don't know, like, as a public school student in New York City, like, you're just more aware of, like, other people.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. Also, because of New York, I don't know if it's because of New York, but I got really into comedy, and I think a lot of that has to do with, like, comedians in New York City. Do
you want to talk a bit more about getting into comedy?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's, like, a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge part of why I like New York City, too. Yeah, so I started, like, as a fan, got into comedy when I was, like, probably 13.
Yeah.
I was, like, obsessed with Jon Stewart. Like, I was huge into Jon Stewart. And I think, so I started then, huge Saturday Night Live obsession, like, tried to, like, get into,
I have that, like, 700
oh
page book on my shelf, Live from New York.
Wait, which one do you have? Do you have the same one? Because I have
a really old version.
Yeah, Live from New York.
Yeah.
It's so good. Damn, you have the hardback.
I found it in my house. I'm, like, a huge SNL buff.
Oh my god, yeah, I could literally talk about it for hours. But so yeah, and then I found out you had to be like 16 to get tickets to any of these shows. So I tried and used my sister's ID. They were like, no, not at all. So I was like 14 years old, trying to get it. It's so stupid. And then and then I think it was also like when I was like sort of my junior and senior year of high school, got really into like comedy more. And then when I was senior in high school, found UCB, which is like the Upright Citizens Brigade. Yeah. That now is like, and I like am taking classes there and stuff like that. And I think it's like.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever do like improv in high school? Okay.
No, I didn't do improv in high school. I did a lot of theater in high school, but like not like on stage. I didn't do a whole lot of on-stage stuff. I was like did a lot of like production stuff. And then, did you know what The Moth is? I'm sure you do. You're like a podcast or like a story. It's you.
Oh no, I don't.
So it's they you know like they're like poetry slams. Mm-hmm. So The Moth does like story slams.
Oh okay, yeah, I know.
And they have they have like they have like a podcast. And so they came to my high school because they wanted to do a high school slam, and so we were like the first high school they came to, and I had a 5-minute slot, and all these people were telling these like really hard stories. And I essentially turned mine into a stand-up thing, like not on purpose at all. It's just like where I'm way more comfortable. Also, like I think I just like got way more into it, like as my parents were getting divorced, you know. So it was like definitely like I don't know where I felt most comfortable. And then so I signed up for a sketch writing class at UCB because I was like, I really want to do sketch because I was like, no fucking way I'm getting on stage, like I'm not a performer at all. Yeah. And then all the sketch classes were full, and I was like, okay, this is the summer before I came here. And I was like, well, I only have one, like, chance to do this. I just want to be at UCB. I want to like, meet, like, people who, like, are weird comedy nerds like I am. So I just, like, randomly signed up for improv. I was like, fuck it, I'll, like, cancel if I hate it. And I absolutely loved it. It was, like, the best thing ever. Yeah, and then so I did 101, 201, and I'm just signed up for 301.
That's so exciting.
So it's, like, it's so fun.
Is that something you see for yourself career-wise?
Like, I think that, like, if you ask people, like, what they want to do, I have, like, sort of, like, the answer that I give to adults / people who want to know about geography and stuff, if my academic subjects. And, like, that's all fine. But, like, if I could actually do anything for the rest of my life, it would be, like, to write or something, or to perform, maybe. For sure.
That's so exciting. When did you kind of discover that comedic bug, if you will? Like, you said you were, like, 13.
Well, I think also, like, people didn't really get me before... Like, I was, like, a really weird child. I don't think anyone realized. Like, I was really
How
weird.
So?
Like, just,
describe little Weeze.
I was really quiet for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And then, I had these cousins who are... My mom's French, so I have these French cousins. Like, we didn't really communicate, like, language, and we sort of, like, said it was because the language thing, but, like, they just sort of didn't get me. Like, they didn't get that I was, like, really athletic and played soccer. Mm-hmm. And then I think that when I, like, got into to comedy, they're like, oh, it's because she's funny, and, like, she just, like, didn't know how to, like...
Yeah, like, express
it. Yeah. I don't know, and so now they'll be like, oh, like, you know, you're, like, the funny one, like, tell me a joke. You're like, that's not really how it works. Yeah. But, like, fine. I'll tell you a joke.
Tell me a joke.
I don't want to tell you a joke.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Not for me. That's a cousins only thing.
Yeah. When conversations died. So then when I like saw UCB, it was like when you're at UCB, you get a like student card because they encourage you like to see as many shows as possible. Yeah. So like my first class, I saw one show, and then I just saw, like, I was just over the summer, and I just saw, like, fucking, like, 7 a week. It was, like, the best thing ever. Yeah. And you just sort of meet people. Like, I would, like, literally, my mom would be so weirded out. I'd be, like, come home from work. I was, like, working at a bakery. Came home from work, would, like, have dinner with them, and they're all going to bed at, like, 11:30. I was, like, okay, I'm gonna go, like, see a comedy show alone. They're, like, well, like, what the hell are you doing with your life? I don't get it.
Do you find that it's made you more, like, extroverted? Or do you consider yourself...
Yeah, I think I am now, but I definitely wasn't, like, as a kid. I think I like... Also, like, it was always one of those things that... I think now, like, people, like, are into comedy, not because it's cool, but, like, it's a way more accepted thing. But, like, when I was, like, 13 years old, like, fucking watching Jon Stewart under the covers of my bed, like, it definitely wasn't cool, and I felt really uncomfortable telling people that was something that, like...
And, like, people not understanding your references, too.
Yeah.
Because it's totally...
Like, hey, guys, you saw when this, like, 50-year-old Jewish man made a joke about, like, President Obama last night? They're like, no, absolutely not, I didn't see that. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And also, it's, like, because it's, like, it's a character attribute, like, being funny, that I think when you tell people, like, oh, that's something I actually legitimately want to do for the rest, like, I think people are, it's super vulnerable to be like,
oh yeah.
I think highly enough about myself that I want to, like, make money. It's, like, what I want to do.
Yeah, like, transitioning a character trait into a profession for some reason seems like, oh my gosh, how? But then a skill to a profession. Yeah, like, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's, like, something that, like, someone has taught, I don't know, something that, people are, like,
you can't really teach it.
In my mind, like, in my mind, if I were to tell someone, like, oh, I wanted to be a comedian, like, they would be like, oh, you must think you're very funny then. Which, like, no one would ever say that. It's so mean.
Yeah.
People are not inherently that bad. But,
exactly. Like, if you said it about any other job, you'd be like,
yeah, people are like, oh, like, that's good. You're going to work hard.
Yeah.
I think also it used to be, like, because my parents sort of, like, I don't know, they were not strict at all and did not push, like, getting good grades or anything like that. But it was always, like, people in my family, like, I don't know, like, very hard workers. And so I think it was always like, oh, like, comedy is something, like, you like to do. It's, like, fun. But then you, like, when I was at UCB, you sort of see people who are working as hard as my parents do at, like, the law.
Yeah.
You know, but they are, like, to do some weird 5-minute, like, sketch show about, like, butts or something like that. So, like, that was kind of cool. It was kind of eye-opening to be like, oh, people are working hard here, too.
Yeah. What is comedy for you, and how do you think, like, what do you think it is for everyone else? Like, how do you think it plays a role in our society too?
I think recently it's been hugely influential because I think I don't know, it's making broad statements about our generation or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think our generation does actually tend to, like, listen. I think comedians now are very much like pop culture and are super influential, but I think they weren't always, like, I don't know. Yeah. So I think there's huge, and, like, you know, it's taken a very, like, political turn in the last few years.
Yeah. I remember
in
finding,
like, SNL and stuff like that.
I remember for a while in high school, like, I found out about political things.
Oh yeah, like,
through SNL.
Yeah, well, like,
and
that's,
I was
like,
why oh, there was a joke about this. Like, let me go research it. Like, what actually happened, so I can get the joke better.
Yeah.
And then that's how I, like, that was, like, my first access point for politics.
Yeah.
And it kind of still is, because I find it a more entertaining platform.
It's like,
to be, well,
it's, like, much
introduced
more,
into.
Right, and it's like, it's a much easier way. I mean, it's so wrong. Like, it's a much easier way to, like, hear about something.
Yeah. Especially when things are so, like, tense and difficult to hear it first that way, and then, I don't know.
But also, like, I think, like, being around a lot of, like, UCB comedians, like, comedians are, like, kind of dark people, you know, and I think that's just, like, how they're processing shit, is, like, by being able to laugh at it. I don't think that anyone is, like, trying to be disrespectful or, like, make light of, like, issues that are seriously real, but that's, like, something that people take, you know, issue with. They'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm so glad you can joke about the fact that, like, whatever, you know, some crazy thing happened. Like, I think that's just sort of how it's a coping mechanism for sure.
Is that what it is for you? Do you think you fall into that?
Like, I don't know, like, if someone were to, like, look at it on paper, they'd be like, oh, yeah, like, she got into comedy because she was kind of weird and got really into comedy when her parents got divorced, and it's now, like, a huge part of her life, like, probably, but it was never conscious. It was never like, oh, I'm just gonna go hang out at these weird, like, places where people are doing stand-up. Like, it's so weird. But probably, like, was, like, I don't know, it's just, like, it's a like, UCB is specific, it's, like, a physical place you can, like, go to, and, like, you just see the sort of the same people. It's, like, a real community, and it's, like, a nice place to go, and so that was... Yeah, I think having that place, especially, like, this past summer, was really nice.
What is, like, do you have any fears related to comedy or performing?
I mean, yeah, like, 100%, like, that no one takes you seriously.
Is, like, it being taken seriously or being, like, being funny? Well,
that too. Yeah, because it's super, you have to then, that too, but I, like, sort of, like, in, like, the civilian world, like, not like, non-comedians, like, just because, so, like, my family, like, so, like, everyone, so my dad, for example, this is a very long-winded story, but my dad, like, was very into playwriting, and he really wanted to be a playwright when he was younger. And so if you ask, like, anyone from his high school, you're like, oh, you know, like, what happened to Nick Lobenthal? They'd be like, oh, yeah, he's, like, writing plays. But he kind of, whatever, like, sold out and became a lawyer because it's super stable, and he loves it now. But I think he felt like, and he would never say this, but I think he felt like, oh, like, that's not, you know, like, being creative, like, that's not something you do.
A legitimate
profession. And he, like, is 100% in favor of me doing that, but I think that of like being a comedian, but I think because he wanted to create stability for himself and for his family, because he like didn't have that growing up. I think that was like the move.
It's certainly not as stable of an industry.
No, for sure. And you see these people, like the people who really, like I would say this is not true of everyone, but a huge amount of people who are making it, because no one gets paid at UCB, so you see all these performers, like they're people who can afford to take like 3 years out of college and like really work and like work in their comedy, and then like by the time they're 27 or 28 are like starting to actually get paid. But that's definitely 100% not possible for so many people.
Yeah.
Which is why there's like, I don't know, as much as like UCB like promotes diversity, like it's like the people who are really making it are people whose parents can fund them post college.
That's so true. I was just talking about this with other people, just the privilege involved in like the equivalent would be like taking unpaid internship. Right. It's like not everyone can afford to like get that experience that they need to get a paid one. Yeah. But like
my dad was saying that he was like, if you could afford to like work in the public sector as a lawyer post law school, you'd end up with a much more meaningful like legal career, whereas people who are strapped with like hundreds of thousands of debt just will take the first job that hires them and end up working in in these like huge massive law firms where you actually are not sort of like learning that much or getting that much experience. But again, that requires, it's so much easier said than done, because if you graduate like Columbia Law School, for example, you're just fucking like swimming in debt. No offense, you'll be fine.
No, I'm very aware. Yeah.
And I think so it's just like sort of like, but it's so hard to see that when you're like 22 years old and be like, I'll just like be in debt for a few years, it'll be fine. Yeah. Because if you're like the one actually paying for it, I think it's really hard. But yeah. So I think I don't really know where we were going.
Neither did I. I'll change gears anyways.
Sure.
But, how did you end up at St. Andrews?
How did I end up? That's a good... Well, my older sister, because she really wanted to go to the States, and so she ended up doing like a joint BA program with Columbia in like Sciences Po France for 2 years, and then Columbia for 2 years. But before she'd gotten into that program, she'd gotten into St. Andrews and just like really wanted to go. So she got in like in October or something crazy early, and then from October until April, when she heard about her other program, I think she was planning on going to St. Andrews. Like I had always sort of like heard about it / knew what it was, and there are a ton of people in New York who end up here, so I think it's like less insane that I ended up here than I think a lot of people who like come from like the middle of, I don't know, like the middle of the country or something.
Yeah.
And then I just like wasn't thrilled about my options in the States. I think that's like pretty common amongst a lot of people. They're like, well, I could like spend a lot of money and get a fine education, or I could just have this really weird adventure in Scotland for a few years.
So true.
Yeah. And I think, it was, very, very good to say. Like, I don't know. There's a lot that I don't get that, like, I feel like, not missing out, but, like, just reference points are different from my friends in the States. Like, they'll just talk about things, and, like, I intellectually know, like, what they're talking about, but, like, I really don't.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really need to know about, like, sororities and stuff. Like, I just, like,
That's true. Do you think you would have joined one if you went to it?
Well, this is so weird. Like, I really wanted to go to huge state schools, like, because I went to this really small, weird, like, progressive school in New York City, that no one, and it, like, would have been established in, like, 1993 or something like that. Like, it's not, I think I just wanted to attach myself to something that was, like, an institution. Yeah. I was, like, sick of, like, having to explain, like, oh, like, you don't know what, like, Beacon High School is? Like, it's so weird. And so I think I really wanted to go to, like, school, like, like, no one has not heard of, like, UCLA or something like that, Yeah. So I really just wanted to, like, sort of attach myself, which I ended up doing, like, if anything is an institution, like, St. Andrews is an institution.
Yeah, that's true.
But
it takes some explaining in the States, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But, like, that's so true.
Do you ever get that? They're like, oh, where do you go? I'm like, St. Andrews, and then they act like they know, and they're like, wait, actually, where is that?
I always say St. Andrews in the UK. Yeah. Like, I go to school in the UK in St. Andrews. Because if you say, like, University of St. Andrews, I think they think it's, like, some very small college that they've never heard of, but, like, pretending to sound like they do.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I don't know. It's, like, always such a conversation point, like, topic, too.
I know. I have, like, guaranteed conversation for at least next year. Like, I know what the first question's going to be.
Yeah, like, every, like, awkward holiday / family thing will just be like, it'll be like, well,
Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Just like, I have sort of like my buzzwords. Be like, oh, it's so great. It's beautiful. Traveling lots. That's like kind of it.
Yeah. In what ways do you fit into St. Andrews, and in what ways don't you?
Well, I think I'm pretty adaptable, actually, which, is probably a good thing and a bad thing. Like, I sort of, like, will just not, like, I don't know, I do a lot just because it'll be, like, easier to sort of, like, get along with people. I think also so again, like, Beacon is a really weird place. It's, like, we, like, didn't have tests. It was, like, super progressive. Oh. Yeah, it was weird. And...
What was your form of assessment?
So we had PBAs, project-based assessments.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was also mainly an arts and humanities high school, so I ended up taking, like, AP Physics and AP Calc, but it was, like, really weird.
Yeah.
But so for those classes, obviously, you have tests. But, like, for history, we didn't really have tests. We had, or, like, our final, like, big project of the year was your PBAs. It was, like, you had to, like, do your independent research project, and then you had to, like, present it. It was, like, supposed to be dissertation-like. Mm-hmm. So we had things like that. It was a great, like, I loved it. My little sister's there now. I think, yeah. So what I miss about it is also what I miss a lot about New York City. It's just like I don't know. Yeah, like sort of like, yeah. And it used to be it was just like a really creative, like, group of people, because it was huge in theater, huge in, like, arts and stuff like that, and so you're just sort of surrounded by. So I miss that because, like, as much as I love St. Andrews, like, it's just a highly academic institution. And so you get all these people, like, probably exactly like me, who'll be like, oh, yeah, like, I love this, but, like, they're here to study. Yeah. Whatever it is. Like, and Tasty, like, is like that, too. You know, like, she went to, like, literally an arts high school. Mm-hmm. She did nothing but, like, ceramics for 2 years, and then came here and was like, you know, well, like, since I'm here, I'm going to study and, like, do her academic stuff. Same with Erin
Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, I was talking about it, too. But, like, you don't realize that at first. You have to spend, like, you know, like, a year with people, and then you, like, sort of discover that they're, like, into something else besides, like, I don't know.
Just what they study.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think you don't really fit into the, like...
Well, I think, like, I don't... Yeah. Like, but also I, like, in the same way that I'm, like, kind of... I need to stop using this, but, like, weird and, like, kind of creative. Like, I also, in, like, historically just really like school and, like, have, like, the structure of school. Mm-hmm. And, like, done pretty well. So I think in that way, like, I kind of fit in. Like, I don't mind, like, being in class and writing essays and stuff. Like, that doesn't... I like that. I like that aspect of it. And so sort of, like, the institution of St. Andrews has been, like, fine in that respect. Mm-hmm. I think, in what way do I not fit into St. Andrews? Like, I don't know a whole lot of people. Well, this is so hard because, like, so this year, I went into this year being like, listen, I'm living this weird life where, like, in the summer and the winter breaks, I do, like, comedy kind of 24/7, and then when I'm in St. Andrews, I just, like, study. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. And it's super weird, but it's, like, the way that and, like, both things make me happy, both things are fulfilling, so, like, it's fine. And I was such, like, a write-off of St. Andrews, because then I found all these people who, like, were really into comedy, and, like, comedy's, I don't know, like, and it was just, like, oh, I wasted so much time being, like, St. Andrews was only this, because I think there's a lot more to St. Andrews than, like, I realized, or a lot of people realized. Yeah, there are people doing creative things, which I'm not sure I realized.
Are you in, like, what kinds of stuff are you involved in outside of academics, then?
Well, I did, I dragged, this is, like, so, I don't know if you know who Simon Rich is. He was, like, one of the youngest writers for SNL, but he's, like, from New York City, so I, like, loved him, because I was like, oh, he's just, like, a New York City kid like me. And so he wrote a bunch of, like, short sketches that were turned into, that this fourth year was turning into a show. And I saw this email from, like, Comedy Sock, because I had never done anything, but I just, like, signed up for their emails or whatever, and I saw this email, I was like, who the fuck is doing this show about Simon Rich? Like, that's crazy. I need to meet this person. So I dragged Caroline, and I was like, you don't even have to audition, just, like, wait outside, because otherwise I'm not going to go and be too scared. So she came with me, and I ended up auditioning, and we both ended up auditioning, actually, and we did a show together. So it wasn't through, like, Comedy Society. It was just this guy who just, like, really loved the book and wanted to perform a bunch of the sketches. So that was really fun, because also through that, I met people who had been doing a lot of stuff with, like, Comedy Sock and stuff like that. Like, there is, like, improv right now is, like, my main, like, you know, the thing that I love to do, like, in terms of comedy, and there's, like, not a whole lot that does the same, like, style, like, long-form improv. Yeah,
Blind Mike is a little different.
They do, like, short-form improv, like...
comedy sports type
improv. Yeah, which is fun, but it's just not, like, what I'm used to.
You should start a group.
I know. No, I don't think I could. I don't know, we'll see. After this, like, I'm always... I was really tempted to after last summer, because, like, it's actually, like when the more I get involved in it, like when I'm in the thick of like it being my world over the summer, I'm just like, why am I ever doing anything else?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is hard. Like I remember I went to see you know, like John Mulaney and Nick Kroll is? Yeah, so they did a show called Oh Hello, and I saw it their last night on Broadway. I went to see it. It was the night before I went here, so I was like, I had seen nothing but UCB shows all week over winter break, and then went and saw Oh Hello, and then the next morning was in St. Andrews, and I was just like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, this is not... Like, I live in New York City, and I go to Scotland, and I want to be a comedian. Like, why would you ever leave, you know? But also, like, all the people... You hear all these stories, like, I think it's important to, like, get out and do weird stuff before you, like... Otherwise, what are you going to talk... Like, what experience do you have, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, no one's ever leaving New York. Like, my family will
how do you know
there.
that's what you really want
exactly.
to if you don't have a or sometimes it's harder to know.
Yeah. That's why I sort of told myself, I was like, you just have to give, like, everything, like, your focus, and then eventually, like, something will take precedent over the other things.
Oh,
which is, like, what I've been trying to tell myself when I'm, like, sitting here in the library at, like, 2 a.m. being like, Also, I do a lot of, like, listening to comedy podcasts when I study, so I'll be like, this is weird, if, you know.
I used to listen to stand-up sets, but then I, like, got through all the free ones on, like, YouTube, and I could find them.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a podcast called UCB Long-Form Conversations that's just two comedians talking about how they found comedy and how they found... It's just, like, the nerdiest thing ever. And you just sit there and you listen to people talk about exactly what I'm talking... Just, like, sort of what comedy means to you. It's, like, it's so... Like, no one would listen to it except for, like... I think people who actually liked comedy, like, no one would stumble across it and be like, this is great, because I think it's probably super boring. But, so that's what I've been listening to, like, when I work, which is nice, but also it just makes you feel, like, hella torn. It's very symbolic. I'll be, like, studying geography, listening about comedy.
How do you bridge those two kind of, like
there's
lives
no way
that you
to.
live?
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Do you feel, like, torn?
Like 100%. Like, not torn, but it's, like, I'm...
Or divided?
Like, like, it's living, like, two very different lives, which is fine, because I'm, like, 19 years old, I don't really, like, it's very compartmentalized, I don't really feel the need to, like, make a life right now, it's just, like, my St. Andrews life, my home life. But I did do...
is so transient now, too.
Yeah.
It's just, like...
Yeah. I also just did, this year, I was a lot more open about telling people that that's what I liked, which was weird.
Oh, was that not something you did?
It wasn't intentional, but I think people just thought, like, oh, this is what, like... I don't know, I just think people just didn't realize.
I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's, like, not... Yeah, I just have something yeah. Or, like, I remember, like, when someone asked me this year, like, you know, like, what do you want to do when you're older? And, like, I actually told them, like, you know. I was like, well, I'd be happy doing this, but, like, if I could really do anything. Like, that's kind of the answer I give. Like, well, I'm studying geography, so, like, I'd like to do this, blah, blah, blah. But, like...
Why do you study geography?
That's totally random, too. I was, like... riding a high, like a maths and science high my senior year of high school, and so I, like, applied, and I was doing bio and econ. That was my original degree.
Ooh, yeah.
And then I hated econ because it's a terrible department. It's, like, the people are just not, oh, man. It's, like, not a great department. It's, like, you're gonna spend 4 years, like, with a group of people and professors and stuff, like, I don't know, make it better. Yeah. So I dropped econ after first year, and then now I'm taking, and then geography was my third class. And then... and then I just, I don't know, I'm surrounded by, like, you're just surrounded by people who clearly, like, care about it a lot more than you do, and it made me realize, like, I don't care about it at all.
Yeah.
You know, like, these people, like, I don't know, they just love it so much more. They get really excited about, like, you know, certain research projects, and I'm like, this just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
So.
What about geography then does?
I kind of like the structure of this subject, because it's definitely, like, it's like a humanities subject, but it's taught like for a science brain, you know, so there's a lot of, like, research involved and a lot of, like, I don't know, it's also just, it's pretty broad and, like, material, so it's, like, you don't, I don't know, a lot of people call themselves geographers, but they're, like, will study lots of different things, which is nice, because I don't, like, still to this day, I have no idea really what I would, like, love.
Yeah.
But there are certain people, like, around me who just get really, really, like, absolutely inspired by, like, the things that they're studying. I think Chewy's probably one of those people. Like, Kate Little, like, gets really excited about segments, and I don't think, like, even, like, as much as I love geography, like, that's kind of it for me. Yeah. Which is fine, I don't really... But I just have, like, a lot of existential crises about, like, oh god, like, why don't I care about something as much as they do?
What has made those stop? Or, like, what do you reason with yourself?
Like, they don't really stop. Like, oh, really? But I think, and this entire podcast, this entire whatever thing is going to end up being, like, me talking about comedy and stuff, but, like, that's okay. I do kind of have that, and it's just, like, not in academia.
It's funny how people's, like, passions or like what's on the forefront of their mind generally like come up as a theme through these conversations. So yeah,
it's so weird because I think it's just like, I don't know, if you love it that much, like it'll come out in conversation. Yeah, I don't know. So I still like will sit up and be like, wow, I should not be studying this. Or like this is totally random. I had this realization. I was just like, maybe I should just be studying math. Like, why am I not doing math? Like, I was really good at it in high school. Like, I used to like it, but I just never was like, oh, I'm going to study math in college. I never did it, and now I'm like, which is so dumb because it would be like I'd be like one lecture into math and be like, wow, this sucks. I can't do this. Yeah. But yeah, I have a lot of existential crises. I think, like a lot.
What's the like most common one? Is it that?
Well, or sort of generally like being like, like what is going to make me like successful / happy / like feel productive.
Oh yeah,
that's a big one.
That's a huge one.
That's a huge one. Like yeah,
I feel like
like I'm not the person who's gonna be like, oh yeah, like this is just, I don't know. I feel like I like worry about like long-term things a lot more than other people. Like, you know, like people will be like, oh yeah, I'm like, I don't know, I couldn't take like 2 years off and just sort of like find myself. I would go crazy.
Neither
I like
could
need structure.
I'm very driven by like knowing or having a plan.
Yeah, having a plan is so important to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like school too, because it's like at least like this is what I'm going to do for the next 4 years. And also like every semester this is what's going to happen. You're going to get grades and you're going to study and you're going to get more grades, like which is kind of,
which is interesting because like the basis of improv is that you don't know what's going to happen.
Which is why it's absolutely fucking terrifying. It's horrible.
Do you think
so
that
good.
Like just brings out a different side of you that isn't?
Yeah, I think so. But also like when I think about comedy and like how I wanted to be a comedian, like how I wanted to like sort of like if I were to actually sit down and like most comedians don't sit down and be like, this is like, I'm already thinking like, okay, like since I took 101, I was thinking, okay, I'll do 201 during my winter break and then you can't take intensives anymore. So I'll do like 301 over the summer. Like I do think like hardcore in terms of plans. Yeah. Which is hard because like it's not an industry that does well with like plans.
Not many. To be fair, like just life plans in general don't.
Yeah,
go
so
to plan,
true.
So,
yeah, but at least you can like pretend to have something planned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then like on a, I don't know, like I think a lot of the people who do improv come from like a theater background, which I like had been around theater a lot, but I'd never like felt comfortable on stage. And so that's why I was so terrified. And even like to this day, like I'll go into a class and like have 5 minutes of like, why am I doing this? I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Which is probably important. Like I feel like people should have that. Just like, be terrified a little bit.
It's like very admirable that you continuously put yourself through those situations.
It's like definitely self-torture for sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, so like I'm thinking about it so fondly now because I haven't done it since January, but I know that like the moment I get into that class, it's just like, oh, it's like the environment. It's like such a theater school. You know, there's like just like chairs in the classroom and it looks like you'd be doing some like studio acting class or like that brings back like PTSD from when I was like forced to do acting. Like I hated it.
Yeah.
Something about improv is like makes me happy instead. I don't know. It's like not that different, you know?
Yeah.
Like the structure of like the class is not that different from like a theater class, but I just like hated theater and loved improv.
Switching gears a little bit, I only have a couple more questions. We can talk comedy all day. Like, what's your value system? What set of principles or beliefs do you think guide your life?
I don't know because I think they've. Like, I don't think I've ever consciously sat down and be like, this is what I care about. Like, this is what I, like, characters I value in people. But, someone recently told me that they thought that I was very, reliable. She used the word not flaky, which actually made me really happy. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, like, something that I really value in other people is, like, reliability. So that was, that actually got me thinking a lot.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I'm, like, very inspired by hard work. I think mostly because, like, my surroundings, like, for me to be here is not that crazy because my parents were both, like, you know, they're both lawyers, so they're both, like, pretty highly educated, and I grew up in New York City, and, like, my relationship to New York City is the way it is because they worked hard. It's not, like, I think New York City can be really a terrible place to live if you're not, like, comfortable. And I think, so for me to sort of be in Scotland is, like, not, it required me to, like, be conscious and, like, be working and stuff during high school, but, like, sort of the structure was there. Like, it was always established that I was going to graduate high school and go to college, but then I was sort of in high school, like, surrounded by people who were mostly, like, first-generation immigrants, who, in their mind... certain. Yeah, it was like, no one ever told them, like, this is what you're going to do, and it's going to all work out, and it'll all be paid for. And so I think that's something I value a lot, is, like, initiative and hard work. And also, like, people being like, fuck it, this is what I'm going to do instead. Yeah. It's, like...
choosing their own course.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I think that's also something that I don't really feel like I have. Like, I'll just always sort of, like, do what people tell me. Yeah. And so I think that's probably something that I value in other people because I feel like I am lacking it.
Yeah. That's where most of my values come from.
What? Like, being like, wow, I should be a better person.
Or, like, seeing it in other people. Yeah. And being like, that. Yeah. Like, that's, yeah.
I also think that, like, I feel like if I do something that's good, it's not... I don't know, I see a lot of good people who do good things or work hard, but it's not really for themselves, like, sort of, like, genuinely for the good of other people, and, like, that's something I respect, and I can't tell if, like, it's something that I actually do, you know, like, I'll do a lot of things because it's, like, what you're supposed to do, like, to be, like, a member of society and, like, whatever, but I think when you see, you can sort of tell when people are genuinely doing things because, for selfless reasons. Yeah. Yeah.
What's something what's the biggest thing you've had to overcome in your life or are still working on overcoming?
I don't know. That was hard because, like, again, in the larger scheme of things, like, I've been very lucky, you know? So it's hard for me to be like, well, this is... But also, like, relative to everything else, like, everyone has something in their life that's harder. Yeah, exactly. That's harder, yeah. Like, I can recognize that, like, my life has been a lot easier and more comfortable than other people's, but still recognize that, like, I've had a hardest thing in my life. Yeah. I don't like, I probably am realizing now, like, the impact that my parents' divorce has had, because...
Like, now as in these last couple of years?
Yeah, well, it's, like, it's very much ongoing. Like, when I go home this summer, that'll be the first time that, like, my parents are living in separate houses, because then my mom moved out, like, 2 weeks after I left for Christmas for back here. Okay. So that was but it was always something because of sort of, like, the structure of my family. It was, like, I was, like, very determined to not let it bother me. Yeah. It was always, like, I can separate myself between my parents. But I think, yeah, like, that is going to be really hard. And also, I have a tendency to, like, feel, like, empathy for people to the point where it's kind of detrimental to myself. So, like, I'll feel like, oh, God, I have to go, like, spend time with my sister, for example, with my dad. When, like, there's, like, he probably, like, does not need me to go hang out with him, but I'll just feel like, oh, God, I have to take, you know. So I think that, like, sort of learning to be a little more selfish in that respect is something, like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I always find it strange when... like, selfishness has such a negative connotation.
Well, it's hard, and so, yeah.
And it's, like, you do need, like, in order to be better for, like, other people, you do need to, like, sometimes make decisions that are entirely in your own interest.
But it's so much easier to be like, oh, I'm doing this for my, like, it's so much easier to spend time thinking about. Yeah. Like, or, yeah, and in the same way that, like, selfish can be important, like, empathy can be bad, you know? And so, like, I can't live my entire life, like, taking care of... Yeah, like, family members who don't need taken care of. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it also is, like, totally just, like, a way of not having to deal with yourself, is being like, oh, I'm just going to go hang out with other people. Yeah.
Which reads on the outside, like...
Yeah, exactly. Really like, oh, like, she loves her family. Like, no, she just doesn't want to deal with her own shit. It's so much easier to do. Yeah.
She's a mess inside.
Listen.
And I just have one more question, but we can talk about other things. What's the biggest lesson you've learned from your life so far?
Oh, God, it's such a loaded question. Like, how do people answer these?
I know. I always used to preface that one. I'm like, I know this is going to be daunting. Come up. Yeah. But, like, this is a question. And then I feel like whenever I prefaced it as that, then people would be like, get afraid. So it's like, don't stop telling them it's daunting before you ask them. But I think I might reintegrate that because it seems...
Well, it's like we're just having a nice chat, and then it's like, what are your hopes and dreams? It's like, oh, God. Yeah. Let's see. What, like, I think probably that, like, just this is, I'm probably saying this because we just talked about it, but, like, taking care of yourself is important. That's a huge one that I've realized in the last few years. And the other one, which is probably also because we were speaking about it, is that, like, it almost doesn't matter, like, sort of the result / like, why you're doing it, or like, the context in which you're doing it, but, like, hard work is important no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, like, why I think people think that certain degrees, for example, are stupid, but you're like, actually, it doesn't fucking matter. Like people make so much fun of, like, sustainable development, but, like, if they spoke to Kate Little, you know, like, she's the most hardworking person, like, I've ever met.
Taylor Gillespie, who's
killing
oh my God,
it
literally
right now.
the most,
like, two, I totally forgot. Like, people who just, I don't know, it's just, like, that should be the thing that's rewarded rather than, I don't know, the degree. So, those are not very exciting.
That's why I saved it for the end, because I'm like, maybe something you talked about.
Yeah.
Like, oh, now that I've
if I were just, like, in bed and someone texted me, like, what are your, you know, I'd be like, you know, like, what the hell? But I think if you, like, talked about it with people, that's good.
That's kind of all. Is there anything, like, formative about your life that you think you didn't speak about or, like, want to mention? Or a topic that you missed out on?
No, I mean, you pretty much have my life story now. I'm an odd kid, found comedy, has sisters, plays soccer. No, like...
We didn't really talk about soccer that much.
We always talk about soccer.
That's
my
true.
entire life is talking about women's football. I'm so over it.
I find that, too, sometimes with just talking to a lot of football people. I'm like...
Yeah. No, I think you got it.
Cool. Thanks so much, Reese.
Dude, no problem.